Hey, what's up, everybody? Frederick Polk here. So I decided to skip the State of the Union, and I've been reading the proposal that's been put forth in the EU of basically rearmament. And they're planning on spending 850 billion with a B. For context, they only gave I can't remember what it was. It was more than us. I think it was 130 billion to Ukraine over 3 years. We gave them 100, something like that. But we spend about that much every year. It's up there now in defense spending. The problem is we spend a lot. We also spend a lot of it on bloated military budgets that have creeped in over the decades. We, like the famous. A screwdriver cost the Pentagon $20,000. We also still have the nuclear triad, where we're making nuclear weapons that can launch from land, sea, and air, so we can bomb the Soviet Union that doesn't exist anymore. I don't think Europe's going to really have that problem, because the wars that they're concerned with from Russia and maybe other bad actors are going to be ground-based. So chances are they're going to spend a lot more money on, actual equipment, instead of nuclear bombs and weapons and armament. Now, I don't want to get too much into the military aspects of that. Basically, they're recreating Citadel Europa, where they're going to be the bastion protectors of democracy moving forward. What this looks like from the next step that's probably going to happen is they're going to form their own NATO. So Turkey's probably going to get kicked out. We'll probably get kicked out. Estonia, all the bad actors in Hungary, they're going to be isolated. And this absolutely 100% will not help Russia's economy. Because here's the other thing too. This effectively is almost $1 trillion in stimulus spending. I want you to think of it like that. It's not necessarily, it's very much guns and butter, right? It is very much economic stimulus spending. Why is that? Because normally Germany and other big players in the EU, because of their commitment with the United States, they don't go into deficit spending like we do for defense. That's kind of one of the big complaints is they're not spending enough. Well, yeah, that's by design because we didn't want them to. Well, now they're going to. And they're not as many trillions of dollars in debt like we are. And now you're going to rearm Europe. Okay? You are going to spend $1 trillion in stimulus spending. That means jobs for engineers, for tech, you name it. People building munitions, building equipment, all the services that are going to surround those people, lunch trucks, restaurants, hotels, travel, airlines, you name it. And where are they going to get those raw materials? Well, from their new buddy Canada, who's got plenty of natural resources. All kinds of things that they're going to need to make in Europe. And guess who doesn't have a tariff on it? That's right, the EU. Hell, they might even invite Canada into the EU. They've got a shared history. And Mexico might be a possibility too, just to strengthen their resolve. If something like that were to happen, you're talking about a rearmed and newly unified Europe. The euro might become the world's reserve currency. Now, for those of you who don't know what that means, it's basically the reserve currency is, because a lot of our currency is faith-based. We're not on the gold standard. We're not on the gold and silver standard. It's all of it. Currencies are faith-based, right? It's what people think that they're worth. And if the rest of the world thinks the dollar is not stable because of the government, because of what we're doing, they're going to switch to the euro to park their money, to park their wealth. Because if Europe's doing this economically and we're doing this, what do you think happens when they start calling in on that debt for the trillions that we have in our national debt? That Republicans, who were supposed to be the fiscal conservatives, said for the longest time, debts don't matter. Well, we lose the status as the reserve currency. Oh, they're going to matter a whole lot. There's another thing to consider too. See, in the South, they had this thing called the brain drain, right? And what that was is because under Jim Crow, because we wanted to keep black people down for so long, you basically had this one-party system, right? And so there wasn't, if you weren't in the good old boy network or you wanted a better life, like you wanted something more cosmopolitan, you wanted more money where things were happening at that time in the Rust Belt or up in New York or in the Northeast, you left. If you were intelligent or you were college educated or you could be college educated, you went up north. And that's where you transplanted. Hell, a lot of black folks did that to work in the factories. It's why soul food's a thing, which is basically, Southern food in a lot of ways. It's because they took their culture with them. What do you think is going to happen to Europe when they have $1 trillion, damn near, in defense spending? And they're going to need engineers. They're going to need tech people. A bunch of tech people in the U.S. that just got laid off. Or all these badass universities that they got over there. All this high education that is suddenly going to be more welcoming to immigrants. Whereas our universities are not going to be welcome to immigrants. You might see a global brain drain head from the U.S. over to Europe, maybe to Canada. I know I just rambled off a whole bunch of stuff at you, but this is why I'm not watching the State of the Union. Because whatever the hell Trump's saying, I don't think it's going to work out like he thinks it's going to work out. Yeah, things are starting to move pretty damn fast and get pretty damn serious. And this is what happens when you don't have serious people in those positions. Anyway, that's all I got for you. Keep the faith, defend democracy, and I'll see you later.